Ethan Cole believed discipline built success. He arrived at his glass-walled office before sunrise every morning, reviewed reports with surgical precision, and noticed details others missed: ink smudges on contracts, hesitation in voices, patterns in behavior. It was how he'd risen from nothing to become a millionaire before 40. Nothing escaped his attention. That was why Liam Parker unsettled him. Liam was one of the most reliable junior analysts in the company. Quiet, respectful, sharp. He never asked for favors, never complained about overtime, never missed a deadline. But over the past month, Ethan noticed a pattern that didn't fit the rest of Liam's flawless record. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Liam logged out early, always exactly at 5:30 p.m. At first, Ethan dismissed it. People had lives. But then came the second detail. Liam never used vacation days or personal leave to cover those early exits. No notes to hour, no explanations, just a polite nod to his supervisor and a quick disappearance into the elevators. Ethan leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. Patterns mattered. Patterns meant something. From his office window, he watched employees stream out of the building at day's end, laughing, scrolling through phones, heading toward restaurants and bright-lit streets. Then he saw Liam emerge. His suit jacket was worn at the elbows. His shoulders looked heavier than usual, as if carrying invisible weight. He didn't pause to chat. He didn't check his phone. He walked fast, eyes forward. That evening, Ethan made a decision he hadn't planned to make. He followed him. Keeping a careful distance, Ethan watched as Liam skipped the parking garage and headed straight to the bus stop. That alone surprised him. Liam earned enough to afford a car, or at least a ride share. But instead, he stood patiently among tired workers, gripping a thin briefcase like it held something precious. The bus arrived with a groan of brakes. Ethan waited, then followed in his own car as the bus pulled away. The city slowly changed. Shining office towers gave way to older storefronts. Coffee shops turned into shuttered bakeries. Streetlights flickered instead of glowing steady. Ethan's jaw tightened. He checked his GPS, certain he must have taken a wrong turn. But Liam stayed on the bus. 10 minutes passed, then 20. What could possibly be out here? Ethan wondered, his earlier confidence replaced by unease. His mind supplied explanations he didn't like: illegal side work, debts, secrets that could hurt the company's reputation. Ethan told himself he was being responsible. As an employer, as a leader. Finally, the bus hissed to a stop near a row of crumbling apartment buildings. Paint peeled like old scars. Windows were patched with cardboard and tape. The kind of place Ethan hadn't set foot near in decades. Liam stepped off. Ethan parked across the street, heart thudding harder than he expected. From the shadows, he watched Liam walk toward one particular building, its entrance dimly lit, the stairs cracked and uneven. Then the door opened. A small figure burst out, barely reaching Liam's waist. A child. "Uncle Liam!" the boy shouted, his voice ringing through the quiet street. Liam dropped his briefcase instantly and knelt, arms wide. The child collided with him, laughing, clinging like he was afraid to let go. Liam lifted him with a smile so full, so real, Ethan barely recognized the man he saw at work every day. Ethan's breath caught. This wasn't what he expected. Not at all. And as he sat there, watching from across the street, Ethan felt the first crack form in the story he'd been telling himself. About people, about success, and about what he thought he understood. Ethan stayed in his car long after Liam carried the child inside. The engine idled, softly, but Ethan barely noticed. His eyes remained fixed on the building, as if it might speak, might explain why the tight knot of suspicion in his chest had begun to loosen into something heavier. Curiosity told him to leave. Something deeper told him to stay. A single window on the second floor glowed with a weak yellow light. From across the street, Ethan could see shadows moving inside. He stepped out of his car and crossed quietly, standing near a withered tree where the branches hid him from view. The air smelled of damp concrete and rusted iron. Through the thin curtain, Ethan saw Liam again, this time without the office mask. His tie was gone, sleeves rolled up. He moved with purpose, but also with tenderness, setting down his briefcase and immediately crouching to the child's level. "Wash your hands first," Liam said gently, pointing toward a sink barely visible behind a torn curtain. Inside the room, Space was scarce. A narrow table, 3 mismatched chairs, and a couch with a blanket draped over one broken armrest. On the far side, an elderly woman sat in a wheelchair, her hair silver and neatly braided despite the surroundings. Her hands trembled as she tried to lift a cup. Liam noticed instantly. He crossed the room and steadied her hands, helping her drink slowly. "Easy, Nana," he murmured. "I've got you." Ethan felt his throat tighten. Moments later, a coughing fit echoed through the apartment. A man, too young to look so fragile, sat hunched on a mattress laid directly on the floor. His skin was pale, his breathing uneven. Liam didn't hesitate. He fetched medicine, checked the clock, and handed over a glass of water like this routine had been practiced 1,000 times. Then came the rest of the family. Another child appeared from behind the couch, holding a book with its spine taped together. A little girl followed, clutching a cracked doll missing one eye. Liam greeted each of them by name, ruffling hair, listening intently as they spoke over one another. Dinner was simple, one pot on a small stove, rice and vegetables, carefully portioned. Ethan watched as Liam served everyone else first, leaving himself the smallest share. When the children argued over who got more, Liam laughed softly and slipped his portion onto their plates when they weren't looking. That was when Ethan understood. This wasn't charity, this was responsibility. A door creaked behind Ethan. He turned sharply to see an elderly neighbor taking out trash. The woman glanced at him, then followed his gaze to the lit window. "You looking for Liam?" she asked quietly. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. She sighed. "Good boy. Best I've ever seen. Took all of this on when his parents died. Car accident. Been years now." "All of this?" Ethan asked. "His grandmother can't walk. His brother's sick. Lungs never been right. Those kids are his cousins. Their parents disappeared." She shook her head. "He works day and night. Never asks for help." Ethan swallowed hard. Why didn't he say anything? The woman gave a sad smile. "Some people don't want pity. They just want dignity." Ethan stepped back, the weight of every assumption pressing down on him. All the bonuses he'd approved without thinking. All the policies about productivity and performance. All the times he'd believed he understood what his employees carried into work each day. Across the street, Liam laughed as one of the children climbed onto his shoulders. The sound floated out into the night, soft, genuine, undeservedly rare. Ethan returned to his car, hands trembling as he gripped the steering wheel. He had followed an employee looking for a problem. Instead, he'd found the truth. And it broke his heart in a way money never could. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the office earlier than usual. The city, outside, was still half asleep, fog clinging to the streets like unfinished thoughts. He stood by the window of his corner office, but the view of steel towers and glass reflections no longer stirred pride in him. All he could see was a dim apartment window glowing in the dark, and a man quietly giving everything he had. At exactly 9 o'clock, Ethan asked his assistant to call Liam in. Liam entered a few minutes later, posture straight but eyes cautious. His tie was neatly knotted, the same worn jacket resting on his shoulders. He looked like someone prepared to accept bad news with grace. "Mr. Cole," Liam said respectfully. Ethan gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Please, sit." Liam did, hands folded tightly in his lap. For a long moment, Ethan said nothing. He studied the young man in front of him. The same man he had watched kneel on a cracked sidewalk, lifting a child with a joy that felt painfully pure. Ethan cleared his throat, but his voice came out quieter than he intended. "I followed you," Ethan said. Liam's head snapped up, color drained from his face. "Sir, I can explain." "I know," Ethan interrupted gently. "That's why I followed you. I thought I needed answers. What I found instead was my own ignorance." Silence filled the room, thick and fragile. "I saw your family," Ethan continued. "Your grandmother, your brother, the children." Liam's shoulders stiffened. "If this is about my schedule, I can fix it. I'll stay late. I'll work weekends. Please don't let this affect my job." The desperation in his voice cut deeper than any confession. Ethan stood up. "I should have asked," he said, stepping around the desk. "Not watched, not assumed, asked." Then, to Liam's shock, Ethan bowed his head. "I'm sorry." Liam stared, unsure if he'd heard correctly. "Sir, You don't owe me. Yes, Ethan said firmly. I do. I built this company believing hard work was the only burden worth honoring. I forgot that some people carry more than deadlines. Ethan returned to his desk and slid a folder across to Liam. Inside were documents, promotion papers, a revised salary contract, and coverage plans for medical care. We're promoting you to operations lead, Ethan said. Effective immediately. Your salary will double. The company will cover your brother's treatment and provide in-home support for your grandmother. No conditions. No charity labels. Liam's hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. This is too much. It's not, Ethan replied softly. It's overdue. Tears welled in Liam's eyes despite his effort to remain composed. I never wanted special treatment. I know, Ethan said. That's why you deserve it. He paused, then added, but there's one more thing. Ethan reached into his desk and took out a key card. There's a house closer to the hospital. Safe, accessible. It's yours to use as long as you need. And when you're ready, he met Liam's eyes. I want you at this table. Not as someone who asks. As someone who decides. Liam broke then. Not loudly. Just a quiet release of years held together by sheer will. He stood, unsure of protocol, and Ethan did something he'd never done with an employee before. He embraced him. Weeks later, the changes rippled through the company, policies rewritten, support programs created, humanity placed beside profit. Ethan had followed one man expecting a flaw. Instead, he found a mirror. And in changing one life, he changed his own forever.